Yehudit. It's a name that people use, but not everybody knows who she was. In order to know more about Yehudit, we have to go to the Hanukkah story. The villain of the Hanukkah story, of course, was who? Antiochus. But he had generals. What Yehudit did was to go over into the enemy camp and kill him. He killed Holofernes, the famous Greek general, and by doing that, the Greek troops were dispirited, and she contributed towards the victory. That's the simple story of who Yehudit was. Now let's talk about what this means to us. Interestingly, the entire story of Hanukkah doesn't have its own Megillah, but there is a Megillah that wasn't included in the Holy Writs because it wasn't written prophetically, called Megillat Hashmonaim. And you'll find her story there. So what's the significance? The significance is that the entire story of the battle wasn't one for freedom against tyranny or independence as opposed to vassaldom. It was a story in which people were willing to sacrifice everything in order to be able to worship God. The 7 lights of the menorah have to do with the soul's 7 attributes. It's different ways of reaching out towards God. That's why it was in the temple to begin with. When the Hanukkah battles began, this was a battle not for our outer lives. Our outer lives were in no danger. It was a battle for our inner lives. Hanukkah is considered to be just as important as Purim, where our outer lives were in real danger, because our inner lives endure longer than our outer lives. Yehudit, as somebody who would act on this, realized that the mortal dangers that the Greeks posed to us was just as real as dangers that would be part of anybody who's trying to physically exterminate us. And you could say, does that mean we should kill people who we disagree with? Like my Uncle Mordecai, no, not really, no. But it does mean, and Rambam says this as halacha, that if you're in an atmosphere, in an environment, where people are actively trying to get you to be them, to change, such as the Moranos in Spain, such as the Russian Jews under the Soviets, then you have to leave. You have to leave. And if that means taking your life in your hands, you have to take your life in your hands. And if they rise against you physically, you have to fight back. So what that tells us is that the way Judaism views our spiritual lives is just as real and just as vividly as we view our own physical lives. The capacity for Mesiras Nefesh, for making real sacrifices for who we are, is part of our history. And in fact, arguably, it is our history. Everybody has to do this at some point. We have to make painful decisions in which what's at stake isn't anything physical, but it's who we are as individuals and as a people. When we're in those moments, we sometimes have to have an image. Pick up the image of Yehudit, an ordinary woman going to take on a Greek general, and say, I could do it.